Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about beauty, skincare, makeup, and exercise. Join us as we share ways to stay current in all these areas while aging with style and attitude. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about beauty, skincare, makeup, and exercise. Join us as we share ways to stay current in these areas while aging with style and attitude. This episode is inspired by the book we're reading, French Women Don't Get Facelifts, by Mireia Guiano. Each month we're doing 1 or 2 chapters from the book, and as with all our book episodes, you do not need to be reading the book to enjoy this episode. So join us as we explore how to be comfortable in your own skin, seeing ourselves as we really are, and developing a plan for aging. And Julie and Mindy, we are up to chapters 5 and 6, and it feels like it's been a while since we talked about the book, but this first chapter that we're going to discuss, chapter 5, is all about beauty. And I don't know about you guys, but at this point in my life, I feel like I'm out of touch with what is beautiful. Like when you read this chapter, how do you guys feel?
Well, she said the notions of beauty are fickle. You know, it changes.
Okay.
Like what we maybe once thought, once what everyone thought was beautiful has changed. You know, pale skin used to be a sign of beauty, and then Coco Chanel came in with a tan one day, and that became the end thing, you know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think beauty notions change.
Well, I'm feeling better and better about being in midlife and being, I'll say, alive in midlife at this time, because aging is much more acceptable for us, I think, more than, you know, in previous generations even.
Definitely.
And I have been finding some of my favorite people to follow, even on social media, are in their 70s. I love watching them. I love learning from them. I've been noticing that in movies that are out right now, it's all about the older woman with the younger man.
Oh, yeah.
Not looking to do. But I just say that because idea of being beautiful when you're older, and we're not done with. Like, we're not just sitting at home, you know, doing our own thing. And, you know, we're not hiding our wrinkles. We're not hiding our gray. And I just appreciate that this book is here, but also just that things right now in our time are very accepting. So we should talk about how to be beautiful. Also, I'm loving that everything she says is pretty practical and kind of a less is more approach. So it's kind of a, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love watching movies now, like with Helen Mirren or Judi Dench, or like all these older ladies, leading ladies. I don't know. I just identify more and more with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk about how the notions of beauty change over time. Julie, you mentioned this, and my daughter once sent me, it was like a little chart that was on Instagram, and it was kind of like the beauty, it was like a picture of women through the decades and kind of like what was the desirable body shape. And I thought this was really interesting because if you grow up as a teenager at a time when your particular body shape is acceptable and the beauty standard, then you have a great body image. And if you don't grow up at a time when that is the established beauty standard, then I feel like your body image suffers. And we were actually talking about this last week. I was talking with my niece and my daughter-in-law, and I was saying how I have talked to my daughters before about, like, when I was growing up, it was an insult to say you have a big butt. Like, that was something that no one wanted to hear. And like, you would say, like, does this make my butt look big? And you would, like, the correct answer was no. Now the correct answer is yes. People want, yes, Julie. Yes.
I'm not on board.
Now people want a big butt. And so, you know, that's kind of hard for me because I kind of did have a little bit of a larger butt. And I was always forever wishing I had the stick thin athletic build. And now people want a big butt. Like, my daughters are like, Mom, you should wear that proudly. And like, my one daughter, she has told me so many times that her friends are like, oh, you're rocking that booty, or oh, your butt is, you know, I don't know, whatever. Like, it's a compliment. And I'm like, are you serious? They say that to you? Like, I feel like they must be insulting her, but they're complimenting her. And it's such a reversal of what I grew up with. Can you guys identify with this at all?
First, I feel like this conversation just took a turn I was not expecting. And I am so and I'm flabbergasted. I just heard Marie say "but" so many times in the past minute or two. I really love this new direction. And also, I very much can relate because in the 90s, what was popular, what was seen as beautiful, and I am curvy. I have never been stick thin. And I'm like, oh man, my thighs and my butt are so big. But then here comes the Kardashians and J-Lo completely changing the narrative of curves. And so I actually now feel more comfortable in my body than ever, but also that also comes with age. So I wonder, is it because that it's more accepting to be curvy, or is it because I'm just more comfortable in my own skin?
I think it's because it's more acceptable to be curvy, Mindy. It really has changed. Yeah. So that's my biggest thing, like, about beauty standards that I have noticed. And just that I think that people are more accepting maybe of different beauty standards now. Like, and I'm not a teenager, so I don't know what it's like on Instagram. I'm sure that there is still this I'm sure that every girl would love to be like the model that we see in like Sports Illustrated. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I do think that there's more acceptance of other body types that there was not when I was growing up.
Gosh, I don't even think I had thought that there was so many nuances to body type. I just kind of thought it was thin. Thin was what everybody needed to be, that's what they said everybody needed to look like. I didn't realize there were all these niche positions in the body type world.
There are implants for every part of your body right now because people want curves. So, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Well, and even being strong is in. I do remember in the 90s to be thin, but also there was no muscle. Like, there was strength involved, and strength now is definitely part of the image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that part of beauty standards have changed. So what are some other parts of beauty standards that have changed that you guys thought about?
Well, I mentioned the whole skin coloring, like from pale complexion to tan, but that's not been in my lifetime. You know what I mean? That was like from the 1920s to present. So it was hard to think about things in my own lifetime, really, other than just styles.
Well, I'm thinking about hair. Like, I'm thinking about how popular the straighteners became. Well, first of all, it was very popular when we were growing up. Everybody got a perm because you wanted to have curly hair. And then when my daughter was a teenager, everyone wanted to have stick straight hair. And now there's been this big movement to embrace your curls. And even if you don't have super curly hair, you try to maximize the amount of curl you have. And there's like all these products out there to make your hair seem curlier, and you wash it less, and like this whole curl routine. And like, I think even that kind of thing has changed. I mean, right within our lifetime.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I had totally forgotten about the perm because I have stick straight hair, and I spent a lot of years putting chemicals on my hair to get it to be curly. And my husband used to say, "Why don't you wear your hair like that anymore?" He would. And I said, "I don't know that anybody would do that to my hair anymore."
Right. Hair, when I was younger, a lot more people had bangs. It tended to be a little shorter. You didn't see gray hair, actually.
Right.
And now, I mean, I feel like it's much more acceptable to have longer hair as we get older, to have gray hair, a lot of different shades of gray. And I just think it's really beautiful, the styles that people can wear, and that it's acceptable. And so pretty much whatever your hair is, I think it's just like you be you. When we talked about Gretchen Rubin, I think that's like Julie said, her hair sticks straight. Let's let it do that. What does it want to do? Let it do it.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true about hair. Y'all are bringing up good points that I hadn't thought of, that older women kind of just cut their hair off and started going to the beauty shop once a week and had it set, and I think that's really rare today. People are wearing their hair in old age just like they wore it in midlife or younger. The styles haven't necessarily, become like, this is an old lady hairstyle. This is, you just wear it however you want.
Right.
And definitely longer is in. I remember in high school, the cut was the Dorothy Hamill haircut. Do you guys remember her, the ice skater?
Yes.
That was such a popular haircut. And I bet you couldn't find that on anybody today.
No.
Right. Yeah. My kids saw me with that and they said, "Oh, a bowl cut."
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about makeup as you age. And I've never been good at makeup. So I feel like I've always been pretty minimal, but she makes a point in this chapter that less is more. And so Julie and Mindy, I'm going to let you guys talk about makeup since I have very little to say on this subject.
I was never very good with it either. I remember as a teenager trying to be and just didn't have that gift. But I do like one thing that she said in the chapter was when you're young and you don't really need makeup, you wear it well. And as you get older and you feel like you need makeup, you don't wear it so well. And so that's the tricky part, is learning how not to do too much and how to do it well.
So Mindy, you're our resident makeup expert here. So
I appreciate this chapter very much. I think that there are some very tangible takeaways from it. And I'll start with my personal story that when I was first allowed to wear makeup and didn't need anything, I put way too much on because I absolutely loved makeup. And there was always just way too much. And so I have slowly used less and less over the years. And it looks better and better, actually. And I think, why was I doing all that when I was younger? But hey, it was fun for me. Some of the takeaways, I think, very practical things are just realizing that our skin is losing moisture. And so beautiful skin is a beautiful woman. And so that's kind of the first and foremost thing that I think about, is just putting moisture back in your skin. And so, of course, you walk down any beauty aisle and you'll see that you could spend millions of dollars really doing this. And so I appreciated some in her previous chapters talking about some very practical things that you can use for that. And I'll let listeners go back and listen to that. But also your skin is just losing color. And so just adding back in some color, and some of the basic things that I feel like if you're going to put on anything on your face, staying away from powders. And so that's with blush, keeping powders away from your eyes. So, just so it doesn't settle into any fine lines and make them worse. Because I think wrinkles and fine lines are beautiful. You don't want to add something to that, though. I mean, just let them shine. So they're much more beautiful all by themselves. But then she didn't mention this, but I actually found that this is an important piece to my face and making it look balanced as my face ages. And that's just adding back in a little color with my eyebrows, not to the point of it looking like a pencil, but there's a lot of very natural things that you can use. One of my favorite things is just by e.l.f., very cheap. It's an eyebrow pencil. You blend it in. And I just think that eyebrows, a little blush, and maybe a little gloss on your lips, along with using maybe a sunscreen, maybe a tinted sunscreen, that's also a moisturizer. Thrive Cosmetics is one of my favorite brands. We've talked about that a lot. And then I just happen to be a mascara girl, but I'm using less and less these days, especially when it's 95 degrees outside. It's, not good. So that's actually not a lot to do.
Right.
Yeah. The less is more. I like what you said about the eyebrows. I am regretting the fact that we went through here's another beauty standard. There was a period of decade where everyone plucked their eyebrows. We'll never have thick eyebrows again. But the beauty standard at that time was very thin eyebrows. And you don't no one ever thinks the beauty standard is going to change. You know what I'm saying? So like, caution to anyone even considering like permanent makeup or anything, like it's going to change. You might not think it will, but it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that like those little things that you mentioned really do make a big difference.
Yeah. And I like what you said, Mindy, because she said something like makeup can't really turn back the clock dramatically. You know, it's not going to cover wrinkles. It's really just going to accentuate them. So just let them be and moisturize your skin and tint it. And I like that because it can actually make it look worse if we're not careful. And something I like to say too is just that it's tempting to stay with products that you love for years, but you're changing. So maybe that product isn't good for you anymore. You know, like you said, powders, and they're always coming out with new stuff and new technology. And I just bought something that I like. It's by Dermatology. It's the brand there's no vowels in the word dermatology.
Yes.
And it's a universal tinted moisturizer. So I like it. Has an SPF of 46 and it's tinted and it looks very dewy. Not dry. So I like that brand. And then I noticed in my makeup bag, if you've bought anything by Thrive Cosmetics, they're kind of a bright teal. All their products are like this bright teal packaging. And my makeup bag is becoming more and more of that color. Like primer, concealer, the tinted moisturizer, the blush, the mascara. I think I'm using pretty much all of their stuff now. So, we've mentioned their mascara before. I love their, what's it called? What's that kind of mascara called? Anyway, one thing she talked about mascara, and she said no mascara on the lower lashes. And I thought that is new to me. I always put mascara on my lower lashes. Do you guys?
I don't, because probably 15 years ago, I was at some little women's thing and they had someone talking about makeup and they said, never do that.
I said it kind of closes your eyes up. Yeah.
Well, also just that's how it ends up flaking out underneath your eyes. Now, if I was going to like a really big event, then I probably would. But I think just on the regular basis, I do think that's probably a good tip. What do you think, Mindy?
I do it every day.
Oh, you do?
I still do it. Yeah.
No, not very much, but just maybe one swipe. And then what I would say about the eyeliner is an eyeliner trick that I learned years ago. I still do, and I still think it looks good. And that's just putting a little eyeliner kind of around the outside corners of your eye. So don't go past the midline of your face. So like if you think about half of your eye, just line almost the outside corner. Because it helps your eyes look more open. And so that is still kind of what I do, but I don't use black. I actually my eyes are somewhat green and somewhat blue, depending on what I wear. And I got this beautiful kind of green color, and it's just kind of smudgy. You can't even really tell it's green. It just adds enough little color again around my eyes. So I do that every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that you obviously have some good products that don't sweat off there in the Georgia heat. So
no, because I'm wearing this to teach workout class and everything.
Yeah.
So
maybe something to talk about too, Marie. You said something about like, if I'm going somewhere really nice, you might do things differently. I think she mentioned that, and I couldn't find it in the book, but like she said that she doesn't feel like she necessarily wants to look different at a red carpet event than she looks every day. And I thought, well, that's an interesting point. Do you feel like you look the same if you're at I don't go to red carpet events. So
I can remember like when a makeup artist did my makeup for my daughter's wedding and then my son's wedding. And I loved that. Like I wanted to look my best. And I definitely looked better than I look every other day. Now, would I be able to apply all that makeup myself? Absolutely not. And would I even want to take the time to do it? Absolutely not. But at a special event like that, I totally want to look my best. And I felt like she made me look that way.
Okay.
Well, I do have some practical tips for kind of doing an evening look or a dressier look. What I would suggest actually very practically is add a little bit of eyeliner just to the upper lid. I don't wear eyeliner on a daily basis on my upper lid, and I'll use a black and kind of smudge it. If I have help, I will do a very natural looking eyelash, adding eyelashes to have more of an eyelash. It really actually is a beautiful look. I wish I could do it every day, but I'm not doing that. And then since it's nighttime and the lighting is different, you can actually go a little bit heavier on the blush, just a tad bit, and you can wear a bit of a darker color on your lip if you want to. I still I don't do any type of eyeshadow or even primer on my eyelid. And it's mainly because my eyes are really sensitive and it just kind of bothers my eyes. So I just lean more towards a natural look, and adding the eyelashes is a huge help. So yeah, it's not a lot different, but those eyelashes, man, I wish I had those.
Yeah. I forgot that she did put like a little bit of extra eyelashes for the weddings, and that does really make you feel special. Also, sometimes I've had my daughter do my makeup, like if we're doing, like she took 25th anniversary pictures a few years ago of Steve and I, and she did my makeup and my hair. And like, I feel like when somebody who knows what they're doing takes the time to do my makeup, it's totally worth it. It's so much more than I would ever do myself, but it's not that I don't look like myself. I just look a lot better. So
right. That's the point.
Yeah. So anyways, let's talk about nails. She talks about nails in the chapter. She says that, are manicures an indulgence or a routine activity? So what do you guys feel about nails? Like, what do you routinely do? Mindy, I know at one time you shared as I'm a fan that you were going to be getting your nails done pretty regularly. Like you had decided that was something you were going to do. But then on a later I'm a fan, you said you got kind of tired of going and then you were doing something different. So what are you doing now for your nails?
All right. I do think that's funny. We've been going long enough that, I'm not getting my nails done anymore. I got really tired of the maintenance, to be honest.
Okay.
And I wanted something more natural. And so with nails, let me put in a plug for taking vitamins because healthy nails are beautiful nails. And I've been taking some good vitamins the past probably 6 months, and it's made all the difference in the world for my nails. And so pretty much file them maybe once a week, make sure the cuticle bed is kind of clean, clear, pushing back those cuticles, not necessarily cutting them off, moisturizing your hands, again, your skin just being moisturized. But also, I shared this, maybe as an I'm a fan, I'm not sure, but if I'm going to a dressier event or I want a little bit of kind of gloss or a natural kind of help color on my nails, I found that it's by London Town, and it's nail concealer, and the front of the bottle is got the letters KUR, and the color that I really like is milky, and so it is a very light, natural looking concealer for your nail, and it's like a nail polish, but I have used that for a couple of events, and I just like that it adds a little touch, but it's nothing major. I just was tired of the UV lights. If you're doing gel nails, I was tired of my nails getting messed up with the dip powders, and the expense of it was ridiculous. So I have been so much happier with a natural nail.
I have only ever gotten my nails done twice. They were for each of my kids' weddings, but I loved how they looked when they were on, but I would love to get something that made them look like effortlessly good, Mindy. So maybe I'll try that concealer.
Right. Yeah. It's a good hiding, discolorations and any imperfections in the nail.
Yeah.
What do you
I've
do,
been wanting
Julie?
to try that. Well, I love to get a summer pedicure. Maybe just get one, and then I can maintain it, because they can do the heavy lifting, and then then your feet look nice in sandals all summer, and I can maintain it the rest of the year. But I went through a phase probably more than 10 years ago where I was getting my nails done. I probably did it for 6 to 8 months, and it didn't last because I hated that I had gotten into this cycle of needing to maintain something. I mean, that's the same reason I went gray. I don't like than, the being forced to maintain something. And
right.
I don't like going to a salon. I don't like sitting there that long. I just don't like anything about that. So I just prefer my nails to be not even long, just kind of right off the tip of my finger, clean and neat. That's what I want. Rarely do they look like that. My nails are usually a mess because I don't wear gloves, when I do work. And I do a lot of yard work and work around the house, and I don't protect them. So I kind of look like I'm a landscaper or a construction worker. And so then when you do have to go somewhere like a wedding or something nice, you're in panic mode. Like, what do I do? What do I do? But one of the things I've seen that I want to try, but I can't find it in stores. Have you seen it? They're like a stick-on nail, but they are flexible. It looks like they've taken polish and painted it on a piece of plastic, and then you peel that off. Oh. And you adhere it to your nail, but it comes off much easier than like acrylic nails or whatever. It doesn't damage your nails.
Right.
And you don't have to use a UV light. And then you can trim them to however short you want them and file them. And so they're real flat, because I don't like the way a press-on nail looks. And these, so I do want to try that. I've seen it on Instagram, but I've yet to find them in a store. So
I will say there's a whole market out there for like a press-on nail that is new. And I have heard so many comments about new press-on nails that they're made different. They stay for like 2 weeks. Like, I think I may check them out at some point, like off the rack at, Target or Walmart. And so I just think that industry is always putting out new product, and I just haven't tried it yet. So I'm kind of interested. I'll let y'all know when I decide to try those.
Yeah, please do.
Because they make them short and sporty too. We all mentioned that we like our short nails. That's me too.
Yeah.
And so some of these press-ons look like that. Yeah. Like you can get a short one, and I'm like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that is good.
I like what you said about moisturizing too, because one of the things she said in the book was one of the telltale signs of aging that cosmetic surgery is yet to conquer is the back of the hands. And so I'm really careful about wearing sunscreen on my hands now. I used to not. I used to think face, shoulder, just wherever I might get a sunburn. But now I'm careful about covering the backs of my hands and moisturizing them. Because I told you my grandson already said, Ganny, what are those? And he was looking at like the veins in my hand, which is funny because I can't do anything about that. I don't know that that's an aging thing or not, but it's funny when you're around a toddler preschooler, you hear the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's switch over to exercise. So chapter 6 was about exercise, and particularly about invisible exercise, which wouldn't everyone just love that term, invisible exercise? If only we could stay fit just doing invisible exercise. And I think she kind of implied that the French and the American views are different, and that the French kind of believe that maybe you could just stay fit doing invisible exercise. I don't really think that Americans think that, but do either of you want to kind of summarize what the difference between those were?
Well, I mean, she says that that French women don't go to the gym like American women do, that they don't like the idea of formal exercising. They don't do a sport in a room. That they are notorious for avoiding anything that requires too much effort for too little pleasure. Yet they know exercise is good for them. So I know when I read her first book or a previous book, she talked about how, if you live in a city like Paris, you have the opportunity to walk everywhere and take the stairs instead of the elevator. And so there's just kind of natural ways to get exercise in. And in American culture, though, we're in our cars a lot. And I remember I noticed this so much when we had an exchange student from Paris. And she was 15 or 16. My daughter was the same age. And I was almost embarrassed at how much time we spent in the car, because we would get home and I'd say, okay, in 15 minutes, everybody back in the car because we got to go here and here and here. And at some point, she asked if she could just stay home. because she was tired of, she had never ridden in a car so much, because even if she was going places, she got to walk and be outside. And so that was really a sharp contrast. And it was kind of embarrassing at some point that we were on the go and in the car. So I think taking the stairs, don't look for the parking spot that's the closest. Sometimes I'll drive around thinking I'm looking for the closest spot. Why would I do that? It's okay. I'm able to walk. So those are just natural ways. Like at a hotel, I try to use the stairs instead of the elevator when I don't have my bag, when I'm just going down to breakfast or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and also I want to say before we get too far into this discussion that we need to say, like we said in a previous episode, that this book was actually written in 2014. I don't think we really knew that when we picked it. And a lot of the things are still relevant, but I would not be surprised if in the last decade, the French have embraced a different kind of exercise, or maybe like the younger generation. I wouldn't be surprised if that's different. So we need to take what she says about the French with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and that may be her age group that still does that. Yes.
Right. And I'll say, just like we have talked about your hair being you and your skin being you, the way that you exercise should be a lot more individualistic. I know that before weight training was popular, they thought women would be bulky if we lifted heavy weights. Well, now that's absolutely one of the things they tell you need to do. Then we thought to exercise, it needed to be all cardio. And if you weren't out there running, or sweating or doing some sort of HIIT workout, you weren't really doing enough. And so I personally appreciate that Pilates and yoga and this kind of kinder exercises to our bodies are out there, because the older I get, the more I'm leaning into those: stretching, flexibility, mobility, absolutely taking the things from HIIT and using those, but also not necessarily in plyometric exercises, plyometric being jumping. I think that there's a lot of body resistance exercise that are just kinder to your body. I appreciate that she talked about kind of making fun of those people that go to the gym and take the stairs, to go to their workout class, which actually happens at my gym every single day. My class is on the 3rd floor of a gym. And every time I go in and I take the stairs up, I kind of feel like it's a personal warm up. But there's always the younger generation. I can't tell you how many times they're waiting for the elevator. I just find that kind of fun.
Yeah.
But also she called out workout instructors. And I have to say this because it really made me laugh out loud, and I underlined it in the book. But on page 103, she talks about basically, going to do an exercise class, and she called the instructors amateurs with modest credentials.
Oh, funny.
And that's probably true in the past, In the past,
listen, it is true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling myself out on this too, because what you need to do to be a certified fitness instructor is not like a doctor, a trained doctor that could tell you, a physical therapist or an occupational therapist that's looking at you and how your body moves, and you have shoulder pain, and, they are tailoring kind of stretching and exercising for your body. So you really have to pay attention and kind of be an active participant and listen to your body and not do something that's harmful, because we are not credentialed for every person out there.
Right.
Yeah. I like what she said too, that she said people generally don't injure themselves. And this is, generally true. Walking, taking the stairs, swimming, gentle things like that. You don't find a lot of injuries there. But in the gym, it's a whole different story. So I like that, you don't have to necessarily think because you can't do certain things anymore, like maybe a sport, that you have to give up exercising, that there are ways to get it in. And we've been talking about less is more, but she said not in this area. Less is not more when it comes to, being active and moving, keeping moving and physical activity.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I will put in a plug. One of my favorite new influencers on social media, her handle is Life in My 70s. And I really like her. She is absolutely adorable. She has not had any work done to her face or anything. And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she is so flexible. So she does yoga and stretching every day. And then she even had a series where she showed what she did with like a set of 5-pound dumbbells. Like to lift weight, it doesn't have to be like you're squatting 300 pounds.
Right.
You can actually get a great workout and do strength training with 3-pound dumbbells, 5-pound dumbbells. The heaviest pounds that I use are 8 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is just be kind to your body and do longer reps with lighter weights, but it's a great workout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've been super inspired since moving to this neighborhood last year that older people can be very fit and active. And I really think the key is don't stop. Don't start telling yourself that you can't do certain things. Like just keep doing it. Because once you stop, I think it's really hard to start back up. But if you just keep up with exercise, like it's just more your way of life.
I work out with a trainer. I've been with her for about 10 years now, and I just love her. I think she's very wise, and she just really tries to focus on strength training and flexibility and cardio, and that there's a balance there, and that if you're just doing one of those, it's not good. You know, you really need to balance it out and fill in the gaps. And she always says, I know you don't enjoy yoga, Julie, but this is what's going to help you get up off the floor when you're playing with your grandchildren. Like you'll appreciate this, like, because I'm not very flexible. And then the other thing she just always drills into us is you can't out exercise a bad diet. And yeah, it's true. I hate that part.
Right.
One thing that I appreciated, and I would say that it really has been a key for me, because it's really easy the older you get to not want to do things that you did when you were younger without really thinking about it. So she said that the universal approach to exercise is to get a dog. And I would say that since I've had Clara, there are just a handful of days a year that I don't go for a long walk. She wants to go for a walk. She needs to go for a walk. Rain, shine, cold, heat, it does not matter. And she needs to go as soon as I wake up. That is the very first thing I do. I don't eat breakfast. I don't do anything else. We immediately go out for a walk. And so even if that, and it's at least 30 minutes, even if that's my only exercise of the day, that's right at the very beginning. And it's funny because I don't want to go out there in the rain for myself. And I could find a lot of excuses on a lot of different days. But when you love something, my dog, and I know how happy it makes her, I'm not going to short shift her. I'm not just going to say, 15 minutes good enough. I'm like, no, she's sad. Her whole world is like spending time with me or going for a walk. Like she looks forward to this. So no, we're getting the whole thing in. And I just think that that's like a way for you to get exercise without you even realizing that you're getting exercise.
Charlie needs to come live with you. I've not adopted that philosophy yet.
Get a dog that loves to walk, and if you love the dog, then you'll walk too.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I really liked that she pointed out the benefits of physical activity. So I'd love to just read that and put that in here on page 107. It's at the bottom. It says physical activity can increase muscle mass and strength, increase metabolic rate, decrease bad cholesterol, decrease memory lapses, increase the quality of sleep, decrease blood pressure, decrease muscle stiffness, and increase mobility and balance. Need any more convincing?
No.
There's a lot of benefits to making sure we're moving.
Right. And I love that she talked about walking, because we've talked about walking so many times on this podcast that it's probably the best non-exercise that you can do. And she pointed out that Americans go for a hike or work out on treadmills. But again, scheduling a workout instead of just making it a part of their routine is different. That's a difference in the cultures. And like you said, Marie, walking a dog, walking with a friend. Even here, like I don't have a mailbox in front of my home. I have to walk down to a park to get my mail. I like that.
Oh.
I like that creates a walk.
physical activity is really important, and it pays off in kind of special ways. So last week we were camping all week, and we had a variety of age groups, but it ended up just being like 7 of us on a hike, and we were only planning to go 14 miles, which is already a long hike. And we had anywhere on that hike from 16-year-olds to 52. So, 14 miles, but then we saw a sign that was 2.5 miles to a lake. So that would add on 5 miles. And when I really thought about the fact, this is 19 miles, I was like, do I really want to do this? But then, I have my son and my niece and nephew there, and people that are like, come on, you can do it. And it's like, well, I don't want to disappoint these young people. Like, I can do this. Like, and I walked 19 miles in one day. Like, if I would have woke up in the morning and thought, you have to walk 19 miles today, I would have been like, quit before I even start.
Right.
But like, it's fun to see how, we didn't have to train to walk 19 miles. It was just because we're used to doing physical things that then you can stretch yourself once in a while. And that was a rewarding experience that I was able to participate in that with them. I was glad that I could share in the conversation the whole way and make that special memory.
Yeah, I always notice it when I'm on vacation and doing something a little out of the ordinary, like, oh, I'm glad I work out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I can still do this.
Well, let me tell you something even simpler is I'm glad I work out, because when you go on a long trip and you're sitting in a vehicle for a long time and you get stiff, it's really good to know how to stretch that's kind to your body, because sometimes you can stretch and hurt yourself if you're really stiff. But to be able to kind of work out your lower back or work out your neck, like your joints that kind of you settle in and have joint pain. So even knowing some good stretches to do are just incredible for traveling.
Right.
You need to share those with us, Mindy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, a sun salutation, going into a plank, a downward dog, child's pose, come back to plank, and walk yourself back up. Anyways, if you go on any social media and look up Pilates or yoga or, beginners, there's a lot of help out there for us. So it's right at our fingertips too.
One thing else that she adds at the end of the chapter that really resonated with me was deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, or some people call it belly breathing. So like when you take a deep breath, your shoulders don't go up, but your abdomen comes out. That's how you know you're doing it right. And we actually learned this technique when my son was at Mayo Clinic, and they taught us how to do it. And it was really cool because they hooked you up to these monitors that monitored your breathing rate, your heart rate, and your blood pressure. And on a screen, like a computer screen, it had these hot air balloons, and you were to use your deep breathing to keep the hot air balloons from going up in the sky. Like you had to keep them down. And it was related to your heart rate and your breathing rate and your blood pressure. And as those things started to go up, the balloons would go up in the sky. And as you applied the correct deep breathing, it brought it down because you were being relaxed. And so it was really a good visual to train you. Like, am I doing this right? Because you had a visual of whether or not you were doing it right. And I've never forgotten it. And I use it a lot of times to go to sleep because it just slows your heart rate down and your breathing down so much. And I like it because you can do it anywhere. You don't have to like say, excuse me, I'll be right back. I need to go do my deep breathing. You don't have to make a big production about it. You could do it anywhere.
Right.
And I've been having a lot of anxiety lately over things, and that's my go-to. That's what I try first. Other than prayer.
Yeah.
Deep breathing is really a powerful tool if you're doing it correctly. And there's a lot of videos you can go and look up how to do belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing.
Right. I'll say breathing exercises in general have been kind of a lifelong friend. So if anyone's ever played an instrument or sang, you have to learn how to breathe, how to hold a note for 8 counts. Well, you have to slow even breathing in so that you can carefully blow out, and you have to play from your diaphragm. When my dad was doing physical activity with the Army and did a lot of running, and he was teaching me how to run. And it was with your pace. You breathe in for 2 steps, you breathe out for 2 steps. You can make that longer for 4 steps breathing in, controlling your breathing on the way out for 4. And then if you have done any sort of Pilates or any sort of strength training, you actually learn how to breathe, and you breathe out doing the hardest part of your exercise. So it actually helps you not harm yourself, and it helps your form to be able to breathe out during the hardest part. So reading this part of the book was very helpful, because I even remember, Julie, you talked about sleeping and helping yourself relax at night. That's one of the strategies for going to sleep, is if I'm trying to relax my body, it's slowing the breathing. And again, I'll count in, I'll count out. And so trying to slow that heart rate. I mean, I think there's even apps out there. I believe LeBron James came out with an app called Breathe or Air or something like that, where he talks about this strategy. So it's actually very helpful to kind of think about breathing.
Yeah, because my trainer will say to me, Julie, breathe. She sees me holding my breath all the time. It does not come naturally to me when I'm working out.
Most people,
I have
Julie,
to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds weird, but I would say I'm a terrible breather. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still alive, so good job.
Well, this book is helpful. I love these discussions. I love getting your opinions on these things and kind of bouncing ideas off each other. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you if you're reading the book, or just if you have any ideas on the things that we've talked about today. You can come and find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
Well, recently I was out for a long walk and I happened upon a podcast, and it was just so enjoyable and so encouraging. At this time in my life where I've got kids leaving and things like that, it just kind of made me ponder some things deeply that were happening on the inside. But it was just in a really lighthearted, joyful way. And so I just appreciated it so much. So I wanted to share the podcast. It's called Midlife Matters Podcast.
Oh,
You guys, I was out the past couple of weeks, and I listened to the Girl Camper episode that you guys both did an intro and then replayed the Girl Camper. And it got me like right where I was at. And so I appreciated it. I needed it. I was thankful for it. And I'm just thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for y'all, carrying the torch while I was gone, but also just, for the content that we're able to provide. Very encouraging in a lighthearted way.
Oh, thanks, Mindy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering, what's she going to say? I want to write this down. That was cute. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
Well, I think I'm just going to say I'm a fan of the product I already mentioned, but it's the Dermatology, and it's spelled DRMTLGY. And it's the Universal Tinted Moisturizer SPF 46. So it's called Glow Prevent. That's the functions, I guess. And it has the natural sunscreen. So it's got a zinc oxide in it.
Do you find it thick to put on?
No, it's very thin.
Okay.
In fact, it does not cover. I have things I would like, skin age spots that I'd like to cover, and it really isn't a concealer.
No. Okay.
No. Tinted moisturizer.
Okay, so it has a little bit of a color, but it's not enough to conceal anything. Okay.
Right.
All right. That's good to know. Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. All right, you guys, I have only watched the first season of this show, but I am telling everybody about it. It was made in 2020. I never heard of it. It's called Your Honor, and it's on Netflix. Have you guys seen it on the front page or whatever? No. It's with Bryan Cranston. And Steve and I watched the first episode, and we were like, oh my goodness. Even if someone only ever watched the first episode, it would be worth it. I will say there's a little bit of nudity right at the beginning, but I promise it is not, don't think that I've steered you off, but I am telling you, It is so good. So it says a respected judge's son is involved in a hit and run that leads to a high stakes game of lies, deceit, and impossible choices. I told my daughter about it, and she's loving it with her husband. And then I told my mom about it, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know." But then I got this text from her last night. We just finished watching the first episode of Your Honor. Wow, I have never seen anything so realistic and intense. You can't help but put yourself in their place. What a nightmare. So it's not scary. It's just so suspenseful. And you can imagine this happening. You're like, no, don't do it. No. It's like one mistake after another. So I don't know. We flew through the first season and we just barely got started on the second. But it is really good. If you have Netflix, I highly encourage you to watch it.
Sounds too real life to me right now.
Like, is this going to keep me?
No, it's not going to keep you. It's not like someone's going to break into your house. No, it's not. It's just like, oh my goodness, what is going to happen next? So,
okay.
Anyways, I think you'll enjoy it.
Awesome. Thanks, Marie.
All right, you guys. Well, I enjoyed this discussion, and I'm glad the three of us were back together again, and we'll be talking to you next week.
Yeah, it was good to see you guys.
Great. I know. I love it.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.